Hey, everybody. Welcome. Ooh, let's turn that down. Hey, welcome to Cloud Talk Live, everyone. So glad that you are here. Welcome to another week. It's Tuesday. It's April, and that is no April Fool's joke for you. But I am glad to be back. My name is Jeff DeVerter. I am the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology. And I say this every time, but I have such a fun guest today, and I'm really excited to bring Lacey up. Just hang on with me for a minute till we get through some of this business. It starts with, if you want to get a hold of us over here, send us a note at solve@rackspace.com. It's really just that easy. You saw that little lower third before that said, we want to know who you are. Introduce yourself. Down in those comments, over in the comments, I don't know what you're watching us on. We're going live across all these different things. Oops, and I forgot to go live on my feeds. Let's just do that while I talk to you for a second. Guys, this is going to be an amazing week. We're into a new month. It's April. Can you believe it's Q2 already? At least the calendar Q2. I don't know what your company runs it as, and it's going to be amazing. So let's get into some of the content today. And I was waiting for who the first person was going to be. It's Dan Tan from Singapore. That's so exciting. We got Fernando from Houston has joined the party. That is fantastic. Another one from Houston. Michael is here. Michael has become a bit of a regular, I think. And we got him from India. We've got Aya. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. From Egypt. That's fantastic. I love Egypt. Never been there, but would love to visit. Martin from Johannesburg. First time we've had somebody from South Africa. So, Martin, you get a poster. One of these. Well, we don't have posters, but if I had one, I'd give it to you. One of these days, we're going to start a map with where all these folks are coming from. We've got Naveed from the UK. I'm just going to sit here and read everybody from wherever you've come in from, because that's fun. Rebecca from Texas. I know Texas. We've got Mexico here. Lacey. Oh, fantastic. All right, well, let's get in with some of the content here. As always, you can find everything from today's episode, including the audio from today's episode, over at rackspace.com/solve/111. This is episode 111. And that's pretty amazing. We've got a tech expert from London. That's exciting. More from Mexico. San Antonio. We've got to get a taco breakfast together for our San Antonio Cloud Talk Live fans. Hey, and you can see that or I told you many times that the audio from these events goes out on our podcast channel. You can find the podcast anywhere you find podcasts. It's called Cloud Talk. This week, later in the week, we've got Rob Jackson coming up to talk about security. That's going to be a great episode. So check that out. Make sure you're subscribed. I don't think it's coming out until Friday, but if you get subscribed now, you can be sure to have it. It's not going to be here, only on the podcast. All right, Hyderabad, we're glad you're here. Vinod, thank you so much. Hey, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency still has their Shields Up warning. I would encourage you to go to cisa.org/shields-up and go learn about that. These are heightened cybersecurity times, folks. We need to be prepared for this. All right, let's get into the meat of the matter here today, guys. I have a special treat for you. As you know, we just finished up March. March was Women's History Month here in the U.S., hopefully around the world and the universe. And so we dedicated every episode of Cloud Talk Live to women in tech. Well, that all started because we decided that the first Tuesday of every month should be Women in Tech Tuesday. And guess what? This is the first Tuesday of the month, and I'm so excited to have Lacey Skelton on the program this morning. And Lacey and I have known each other for many years. She worked and we're going to get into this here shortly, but she worked on the Azure team that I helped to stand up here at Rackspace, and I'm so glad that she is here today. So why don't we go ahead and bring her up on to stage. Lacey, welcome to Cloud Talk Live.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. We've got all of your fans from Singapore to South Africa to Mexico, everybody, UK, everywhere in between. They're all here to see you, I'm sure.
I love to see all the places. This is very neat. Very cool.
It's really encouraging. So, guys, we're here to talk about women in tech. Now, Lacey, as we look at your career, if we go back and look at your education, we're going to see, MIT Sloan. We're going to see all this deep technology training you've had, right?
No, not at all. Never did I think I would be here in technology.
Where did you think? So where did you think when you're in high school? You're thinking, I got to go to college. I'm going to go learn some things, and then I'm going to have a career. What did you think that career was going to be in?
My idea of career changed on the regular. I think I changed my
Mm,
major 3 or 4 times in college. At
okay.
one point, I was a geology major because my dad
Really?
owns
That's a
an oil.
hard subject.
Yes, exactly. So
Dad joke right there.
I go into midterms, and there's like 100 rocks on the table, and you have to literally look at them, look at the color and the texture, and figure out what's what. And at that point, I just knew this is
You're
not what I
like,
want to do the rest of my
it's a
life.
pile of rocks. What do I do with that?
Exactly. So it changed frequently, but this
Well,
is not.
what did you end up with? What was the major that you graduated with?
I majored in public relations with a minor in
Okay.
business because I did like to enjoy writing at the time, and I thought it
Yeah.
would be a great role for me.
All right. And then the first job out of college was?
My first job out of college, I was an IT recruiter.
Okay.
So this was 2008. You know, we were in the U.S. recession, and a lot of my friends were getting into recruiting. So I took
Yeah.
that role, and honestly, it was a great first job out of college. It was great.
That's awesome. Well, some of your fans are starting to show up. Evan Oakes is here.
Oh,
Uh,
Evan
yeah,
loves to give me
absolutely
a
love
hard
working
time.
with her every day. So isn't that great? Where
No
is
big
Evan now?
deal.
Do you know where Evan is?
Evan is at EA.
Yay. Oh, well, that's really cool, Evan. So, Evan, we appreciate your time when you were
Really.
here. But you started in IT, and did that make you think, maybe I could work in IT as a
Yeah,
career?
so I enjoyed the IT recruiting because it was very challenging. I learned a lot about the different roles, and just my conversations with technical professionals was very intriguing to me at the time. I did move on to go into marketing and PR a little bit after IT recruiting to see if I was still interested in that pathway. But ultimately, really miss the tech world, and that's where I came to Rackspace.
What year was that you came to Rackspace?
January of 2013.
January
So a
2013.
little over
Got it.
9
And started as an individual contributor. Actually started, weren't you in the same class coming in with Jackie, who was actually our first Women in Tech Tuesday attendee? I think you guys started about the same time.
Yeah. Jackie started a little bit before me, but we were teammates as cloud advisors. And those were some of my literally the best times, the best days I've had at Rackspace. They were amazing. Jackie's great people.
She is a delight to work with and just kind of gets things done, which is fantastic. Um, but at some point, of course, you move into leadership. And I think that was in and around the time you came over to work on the Azure team, which I was helping to lead and had launched here at Rackspace.
Yep, exactly. That's where Jeff and I met. So in 2016, I went over to help launch the Azure onboarding team, and that was a really great role, just creating process and documentation and standards from the ground up for this new team that we were launching.
So, that brings up an interesting thing because folks think about moving out to the cloud and you think, "Oh, cool, I got a cloud account. Let's just go and move my servers there." Well, you can just sort of throw things out there, and maybe in all transparency, in the Azure team, we'd been throwing some things out there for a little while, and so Lacey came over to help build process and some rigor around that. So, maybe talk about those early days in figuring out how to take this great big ball of anything called Azure and to help make sure that customers would move into that in a consistent way, because that is something that every business should be using, every customer should be doing when moving out into a public cloud, is doing it in a systematic way. So how did you approach that?
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit of the Wild West when we first started Azure. It was a little bit post our AWS teams and where they were and their progress. And so, really, I came in and just tried to establish just the basics from the ground up, right? Like we had to
Yeah.
have our documentation in line, our standards, how we were tracking our projects, are ensuring that our customers were really having a seamless transition from the time they signed contracts with Rackspace to the time they moved over into support, just really creating all of those standards,
Yeah.
and leaning on the AWS leaders and teams like Evan, who had been there already and done some of that work, as well as Matt Labar and products that we had at the time was
Yeah.
amazing, and so just had some really great leaders within that team that helped create a lot of this process that we put together.
Right. And so that ultimately then also was the beginning of your not just illustrious career from a leadership point of view, but from an onboarding point of view. How do you get a company from wherever they are into, their cloud or their environment of choice in a way that is systematic and secure, so that they've got this playing field then that they can deploy their applications and environments into in a way that helps keep them safe and helps enable them to get everything they want out of the environment. So you were on the Azure team for a good while, but at some point you move on because you're certainly leading a few more teams than just a few Azure engineers at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So we've grew in our public cloud business, continue to grow. I moved over to take over our AWS build engineering teams and then our GCP build engineering teams, and we work to collaborate and create standard tools and template methodologies across the three public clouds and streamline that as best as possible. We had engineers who started doing multi-cloud, learning how to deploy on AWS and GCP and vice versa. So that expanded. And here recently, I moved over to take over our private cloud and public cloud teams. And that's where I'm at now, working to globalize all of these functions under our implementation teams.
Incredible. So, guys, if you're tracking along at home, then you realize that Lacey's gone from an individual contributor to a team lead to a manager to a senior manager, and now ultimately a director heading up deployments in a global fashion across public and private clouds. I'm bragging on you a little bit here, Lacey, because you've really come a long way.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jeff. I didn't think I started. I started on the Q team for all those old school rackers. The person behind the chat bot, when you went on the website to ask questions, that was me answering your questions or picking up the sales lines. So that's essentially how I got my foot in the door at Rackspace.
And folks, there is no more entry level job than that job at Rackspace. I mean, that is the entry level of entry level jobs. To get into Rackspace, but you weren't the only person who's gone from that type of a role into a position of leadership. I mean, I think about Josh Pruitt, our chief product officer, started, I think, in the exact same role that you, a few years earlier, but in the exact same role that you did. And I think there's a bit of encouragement we can give folks out here, whether you're ideally kind of maybe in the beginning of your career. Don't be afraid. Find that company, find that culture that you're really excited about, and take the job that gets you in, and then just immerse yourself in it, prove yourself in it. Good, smart people, good people, ultimately then get elevated into greater positions of responsibility and leadership over time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I took a pay cut to come to Rackspace in this role because I knew if I worked hard enough, I had the opportunity to move up, and that's what I did. So.
That's incredible. I think that's great career advice, and in that as well. Now, Lacey, you, as I think about where you are in your role today, you've been surrounded and immersed in technology for a good long while, but by your own definition, didn't study that, didn't plan on a big deep career in tech. How have you balanced being a non-technical person leading technical people?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is building trust and rapport with your teams, right? I'm the voice for my technical rackers to upper leadership. I'm the person to help remove the roadblocks so that they can focus on the technical work. And my team laughs at me all the time, but I'm constantly asking them to break down every technical thing and step to me to help me understand. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to help make their jobs easier, help make our customer experience better, and just really helping to build our teams, and be that voice for them. So technical or non-technical, at the end of the day, I don't think it is a huge issue.
Lacey, one of the things that Jackie mentioned when she was on, and she talks about this a lot, is in similar roles that you're both in require a huge amount of cross-department coordination. You think about bringing a customer online. You're dealing with sales. You're dealing with a customer. What are their expectations? You're dealing with internal support teams who are ultimately waiting to capture and get these workloads so that they can manage them. They have expectations as to the state that that's going to show up in. Now that you're dealing with private cloud, you're dealing with data centers, you're dealing with hardware providers, you're dealing with supply chain. That is a lot of plates to keep spinning. What are some of the strategies that you have to keep all of that moving?
Yeah, so building cross-functional relationships is key in this role. Like you mentioned, we interact with many, professional services to support to sales on a day-to-day basis, and so really it's building those relationships and just ensuring that we are being seen as one Rackspace. So when a customer buys a bunch of different offerings, sometimes it can feel a little bit disjointed when there's different delivery teams, and
Yeah.
our role is really to help clearly define that path for them and make it a very smooth transition from team to team.
Communication, hardest thing to do, but the most valuable thing that you can do. Um,
Absolutely.
you know,
Communication and setting those objectives and targets, and just clearly defining those outcomes.
Objectives, we could unpack that a little because what objectives do is they help set expectations. And expectations are the hardest thing. And I think one of the things that creates the most conflict within organizations, in families, in personal relationships, mismet expectations. But when the expectation is, and everybody agrees to the fact that it's going to come in this state and it will be delivered in that state and it will be managed in this way, the expectations are there and everybody can work to that, and then ultimately you can measure those expectations as key KPIs and now show performance and hopefully increases over time.
Absolutely. And it's setting those expectations up front is what I've learned over the years. So on
I'm not good at
a
that.
customer,
Not
yeah,
good
on a
at that.
customer's journey, we want to make sure we're understanding what their actual requirements are, what their needs are, and we're communicating out what they can expect from our teams to deliver on from the beginning.
So Lacey would if she were going to be very honest, she would say that Jeff is not great with some of those at some point because I get this vision of the big picture and I get excited about charging forward into the new area. And if I don't have people like Lacey along on the journey, then we charge and make some good progress, but eventually chaos ensues, which is why having these expectations, having the processes in place, and being able to measure them over time is really important. It's why it takes such different varying people to make organizations and teams work well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Lacey, we have a ton of people from Egypt here today, which is fantastic. Normally we get onesie twosies from different areas, but I've seen several showing up
That's
here from
amazing.
from
And my
Egypt.
girl, Christine Colbison,
She is here.
I
Yeah,
miss her. Yes, she's amazing.
Christine, you're going to get a call to come be on this program in the not too
You
distant future.
She would be amazing to interview. You have to.
All right, Christine. First Tuesday of May, you're on the books, so you've been warned. Um, Well, I ask a similar question at the end of all of these, Lacey, of these interviews when I talk to some amazing women working in tech. And I've already asked kind of what your thoughts were about your career when you were, coming out of high school and so forth. And but now I want you to speak to those young women. Or even preteen as they think about their careers, because I've had lots of comments from ladies and from men saying, "Hey, I'm going to take these interviews home and show them to my daughters." So now let's speak to them. How might you encourage them that maybe tech leadership, however you want to do it, isn't so scary? How you can encourage them?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is to take risks. Nobody ends up staying at their first job out of college. So take different roles, different companies, just try different things. And I think the biggest advice I can give is when you're applying for roles, um, you know, apply for the roles even if you are not a perfect candidate, even if you're missing some of those requirements or nice to have. As a hiring manager, I would much rather have somebody who's ambitious, motivated, driven. I can tell they're a fast learner versus having a certification that I'm asking for. So I would just say, to take risks, set goals for yourself. Don't become complacent. It's so easy to become complacent, but get out of your comfort zone. That's the only way you'll grow.
That is amazing advice. Amazing advice. And yes, whoever is saying that, Nilish, yes, the camera. I live by the mantra that anything worth doing is overdoing, and I've way overspent on my camera. So thanks for noticing. It makes me feel better of having written that check. But I want to, before I let you go, I want to call out Rebecca's comment in the chat here. And it says, Lacey, you are inspiring to listen to. I've been a small business owner for about 20 years and transitioning over to tech. I've earned my AWS ASA cert and now learning Python to familiarize myself as much as I can. I will be applying for, and I'll finish that because it doesn't show that, for as many entry-level positions, entry-level jobs as possible. Just like you, I just want to get my foot in the door.
I love it. Reach out to me, Rebecca. We may have some roles coming up in AWS. So
That is
great.
fantastic. And they can find you, Rebecca, if you just email us at solve@rackspace.com, I'll make sure that you get connected over to Lacey. You can find her also over on LinkedIn if you want to reach out directly. But the quickest way might be to email us at solve@rackspace.com. Well, Lacey, a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for taking the chance and trusting to come out on here, that it wouldn't be too scary, and sharing your experience. You've obviously made a big impact, not only on us here at Rackspace, but on the folks who've had the chance to listen to you this morning.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all for joining. It's really great catching up.
Wonderful. And Christine just committed to being on the program next month. This is fantastic. All right, everybody. So Lacey, thank you so much. We're going to move into the next part of the program here and see what we've got. So Lacey, have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone, let us press on with our day. What a great conversation with Lacey. Isn't she just amazing? She was so fun to have on the team, and she has gone on to lead teams. All right, so let's move on with our program here this morning. If you want to get any of this information, you can find it over at rackspace.com/solve/111. You'll find a link to Lacey's LinkedIn profile there. Go connect with her and get to know Lacey a little bit more. And if you want a job on Lacey's team, just either connect her there or send us an email at solve@rackspace.com. All right, well, that's the cloud discussion. Now it's time for us to move into our favorite little section. And I say favorite. Oh, look, I brought it up too soon. You saw the green screen. And that is This Week in Cloud. And that's where the cloud is making news and what it means to you. So let's start here. Let's start with this article about Okta. Now, if you're familiar with cybersecurity and you're following cloud news, you know that Okta had a little intrusion, and their intrusion into their environment that did affect customers started back in January. And Okta took a path of non-communication. And ultimately, what that means is they denied that there was a significant breach. And then when the hacker who was in posted proof that they were there, they continued to double down on that. And ultimately, over time, they eventually came to the point that they opened up and shared exactly what had happened truthfully. Now, we all should be of the mindset that everyone, even with all the efforts that we go about, it's part of what that whole CISA stuff is. There is the chance that everyone at some point is going to be compromised. And so I would encourage you guys in your companies to think through what that response is going to be. Now, the SEC has responded, and we're going to go into this deeper in a future episode, but the SEC has responded, and now they are making recommendations that there will be laws about how companies have to disclose, public companies have to disclose their information. So we are going to unpack that with Gary Alterson in a coming episode. He is our security guy here, and because it does have implications for every public company. All right. Also in the news over at AMD, the chip maker AMD, let's be clear, the chip maker AMD has gone and bought cloud service provider Pensando for $1.9 billion. Now, anytime there's a B on the dollar, we should be paying attention. It's important because it denotes scale. And hey, thanks for posting that up there. Daniel. So this is important, guys. So when we think about all this cloud transformation, when we think about leaving the data center, what's happening is we think, hey, data centers don't matter anymore. Well, folks, in the world of business, in the world of cloud, in the world of public and private cloud, data centers absolutely do matter. what's happening here, if we rewind the clock, I love this analogy. If we rewind the clock back into the 1800s, every manufacturing company, every manufacturing company generated their own power by and large. They did it because power generation was inconsistent. It was expensive to transmit from one place to another. But ultimately, over time, it became a commodity type service. I have to cough again. I'm back. And so I see the parallels here. It doesn't mean that power generation went away. It means it was centralized and commoditized. And that's what's happening in data centers. Does every company need to have their own data center at the same scale that they have up until now? I answer, absolutely not. Do data centers still matter? Absolutely. Watch this space, folks. It's super, super interesting. We're going to see a lot of transformation happening here. All right, let's move into that little part where we talk about cloud releases and what the cloud providers have brought out for us. And it starts with AWS. AWS has a new feature. AWS Backup now allows you to restore virtual disks from protected copies in VMware virtual machines, And this actually, you're going to want to go over to rackspace.com/solve/111 and go read about this one. There's a lot of features that are involved here. Whether you are using AWS as a backup point for your on-prem VMware environment, whether you're restoring from your on-prem out into AWS, whether you're using VMware inside of AWS or VMware in another cloud. It really does have a pretty far-reaching impact. So go check that one out. All right, let's move over to Azure and see what's new from them. For Azure, it's a public preview of Azure Bastion supports Kerberos authentication. So Bastion servers, if you're not familiar, I like to think of them as a stepping stone into your Azure environment or AWS or Google. And it's a way to connect into the environment in a very, very secure way, meaning even from just a specific location under specific authentication and specific network paths. And from there, then have full access to manage your cloud environment. Well, they've enabled in their Azure environment Bastion servers Kerberos authentication, which of course is more secure. All right, let's move over to what is new from, it stopped responding, over from GCP. All right. GCP this week announced database migration service now supports migrating Oracle workloads into Cloud SQL or PostgreSQL. So this is interesting. So it's not just migration from point A to point B, it's migration and, in a sense, transformation into a new database technology. Now, it's a sad news for my friends like Patrick Jenkins, who works over at Oracle, because it's pulling it out of Oracle servers. But it's interesting because it allows organization to have greater control as to what database technology they use as they go about their migrations. Cool. Well, that is cloud releases for the week, everybody, which takes us down into one of my favorite parts. I say they're all my favorite parts, but I really enjoy doing this program with you, and that is the job of the day. So, folks, why do I get excited about the job of the day? Because you get to come work with people like Lacey Skelton, who is a natural leader and, grew up out of the Q team, answered the phone, didn't even answer phones, answered chats. And now she leads teams of teams all around the world. Well, this is a principal, an account principal that's inside of our professional services teams, and our account principals are the cornerstone of delivery success, overseeing our most strategic professional services accounts. They are trusted advisor and a point of escalation for all issues arising from the delivery of our professional services capabilities. Folks, you can find out more about this job and even click to apply over at rackspace.com/solve/111. Well, this has been a super fun episode. I hope you have enjoyed it. We've had folks from some amazing places around the world: South Africa, West Africa, Johannesburg. Amazing. Well, the audio for this, if you're not already familiar, if you were asleep this entire episode, is available through the podcast. I would love for you to subscribe. Daniel doesn't think we're getting more subscribers by me pitching this. Prove Daniel wrong. In fact, everybody, right now, open up your phones. Let's all do this together. It'll be fun. A group exercise to get your Tuesday off to a great start, and that is subscribing to Cloud Talk. Go find it inside of your podcast app. It is there. And if you do that, well, that means you're going to get this week's episode with Rob Jackson, and it is a fantastic one. Well, we here at Rackspace Solve program are so grateful for our new sponsor, App Dynamics. I say new, they started with us this year. If you are interested in software observability, there's really just one company to go to, and that is App Dynamics. Folks, they came in as a sponsor. They're a great partner of Rackspace, but I made them give us a meeting a couple of weeks ago because I needed to know more about what they did. And when you look at the breadth and depth of the capabilities that they bring in not just monitoring, but understanding the entire chain and performance of modern applications, not just traditional, but modern applications. But I encourage you to go check out App Dynamics. If you want to figure out how to get a hold of them, or you want me to walk in through the front door, well, just send me an email at solve@rackspace.com, and I'll make sure that you get the red glove treatment. All right, everybody. This has been one of my I was going to say, make a dad joke. My favorite episode of the week. It's the first episode of the week. But I hope you have an amazing week. We're back here on Thursday, and the topic is about integrating security into your DevOps practice. We'll call it DevSecOps. We've got Gary Alterson here, as well as one of our partners. So make sure that you make time for that and set a calendar of a reminder for it. It's 8:30 Central Time on this coming Thursday. Everyone have an amazing week, and we're back here on Thursday. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to Cloud Talk. Prove Daniel wrong. Help me in that mission. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for me. We are 1 minute over, and that means you're late to your next meeting. It also means I'm late to my next meeting. Have an amazing day. I'm Jeff DeVerter for Cloud Talk.